Hello, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most powerful forces in your life. It's something that can either chain you down or give you wings, and it's all in your head. Yep, we're talking about your mindset. So let's dive in and uncover the hidden beliefs that really define what you're capable of.
And I want to start by asking you this one simple question. Seriously, think about it. What truly holds you back? Is it money, your job, the people around you? Or is it something else? Something invisible you can't quite put your finger on? We're going to dig into that exact idea, starting with a story you won't forget.
So our first stop is all about these invisible ropes we all tend to carry around. You know, these are the limits we place on ourselves, often without even knowing it. They're usually forged in our past, but man, do they have a tight grip on our present. To get what I mean, just picture this. A full-grown, massive elephant. An animal that could rip a tree out of the ground, right? But it's just standing there, held in place by one tiny, flimsy rope tied to its leg. It has all the power in the world to just walk away, but it doesn't even try. The question is, why?
Well, the answer goes all the way back to when it was a baby. When that elephant was small, that same little rope was actually strong enough to hold it. It tried and tried to break free, but it couldn't. So it learned a lesson, a belief. The rope is stronger than me. I can't escape. Now, even though it's a giant, that old belief is still running the show in its brain. The rope isn't the real prison. The real prison is the story it tells itself. And honestly, aren't we all a bit like that elephant sometimes?
Okay, so if our beliefs can hold us back, it's got to be true that they can also set us free, right? And that brings us perfectly to our next idea. There are always two ways to see things. Let's look at how just shifting your point of view can turn what looks like a dead end into a massive opportunity. This story just nails the point perfectly. A shoe company sends two of its top salesmen to a remote region in Africa. They both get there, look around, and notice the exact same fact. Nobody is wearing shoes. The first salesman calls the home office and says, "Pack it up, there's no market here. Nobody wears shoes." He saw a problem. The second salesman calls the home office, barely able to contain his excitement, and yells, "Send everything we've got. There is a huge market here. Nobody wears shoes." Same fact, totally different world of possibility. And here's the kicker. The situation itself, it's neutral. It doesn't mean anything until we decide what it means. It's our interpretation, our response, that gives it all its power. You know, they say life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. That reaction, that perspective, that's our secret weapon. And it changes everything. This idea of perspective leads us straight into our next big topic, the myth of failure. From day one, we're taught that failure is bad, that it's the opposite of success. But what if that's completely backwards? What if failure is actually just a part of the process? And what if the only way to truly fail is to just stop trying?
I mean, just look at this. This is Abraham Lincoln's resume. Lost his job, defeated in an election, had a complete nervous breakdown, defeated again and again and again. I mean, by any normal standard, this is just a long list of failures. But he never saw it that way. He saw it as feedback. He just kept going. And in 1860, after all of that, he was elected President of the United States.
Or how about this number? 3,000. That's roughly how many times Thomas Edison's experiments to create a working light bulb didn't work. But when a reporter asked him how it felt to fail so many times, he famously replied that he hadn't failed at all. He just successfully found 3,000 ways that won't work, which brought him that much closer to the one that would. And if you think that's incredible, get a load of this. In 1914, Edison's entire factory complex, his life's work, burned to the ground. It was a total catastrophe. He's standing there watching the flames, and he turns to his son and says, "It's all right, we've just got rid of a lot of rubbish." He saw a devastating loss not as the end, but as a chance to wipe the slate clean and start over, better than before. That is mindset mastery. All right, so we've talked about reframing problems and seeing failure as data, but for our final story, we're taking it to a whole new level. This isn't just about overcoming an obstacle. This is about turning an absolute catastrophe into a literal super ability. This, to me, is the ultimate proof of mind over matter. Let me tell you about Karli Takacs. In 1938, he was the best pistol shooter in Hungary, maybe the world. His right hand was a legend, and he was a shoo-in for Olympic gold. And then,
disaster. A grenade exploded in that hand during army training, completely destroying it. His dream was over. But here's where the story takes an unbelievable turn. Instead of despairing over the hand he lost, he decided to focus on the one thing he had left, his other hand, his left hand. For months, in secret, he taught himself to shoot all over again. A year later, he shows up at the national championship. His rivals console him for his tragedy. They had no idea he was there to compete. And then, he won. He beat all of them. But he wasn't done. He went on to win the Olympic gold medal in 1948 and then did it again in 1952 with his left hand.
So, after all of these incredible stories, the elephant, the salesman, Lincoln, Edison, Takas, it all boils down to one simple, powerful idea. It comes down to a final choice. A choice that every single one of us has to make, not just once, but every single day of our lives. There's an old Cherokee legend about a grandfather telling his grandson, "A great battle is happening inside of me. It is a fight between two wolves." He says, one wolf is evil. It is fear and anger and envy and doubt. The other wolf, he continues, is good. It is joy and peace and hope and love. Then he looks at his grandson and says, "This same fight is going on inside of you too." The grandson thinks about it for a minute and then asks the only question that really matters. "Grandfather, which wolf will win?" And the old man simply replies, "The one you feed." So the question isn't about the rope or the lack of shoes or the failures or the lost hand. It's about your choice. Every day, you have a choice. So which wolf are you going to feed today?